Well, I just finished watching the last episode of The Haves and the Have-Nots, and my mind is officially blown. First off, welcome back, Oscar. Glad to see you back on the show. And I have to say that I really enjoyed the episode, but there are a few things, as usual, that made me go, what in the world is going on here? So, for starters, after watching the last episode and then last Tuesday's episode, I know we established that it would cost $18 for Hannah to travel from the motel to the hospital to, of course, take Quincy Jr. there. But correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below, please. Did they ever tell how much distance was between the motel and the hospital? Because I know with the $9 that Hannah had, it got her to the halfway point, but it would have taken $18 to get to the hospital. So my mom and I were joking about, how long was Hannah actually running with Quincy Jr. to it's not funny, it's not a funny situation, because the boy's sick, but at the same time thinking she was running, I don't know how far she had to run or how long she was running, but within 30 seconds of the episode starting, she gets there. Of course, the doctors, it looks like she's in a better hospital than the one that Benny was in at the ending of the beginning of season 2 after the hit and run incident. So I'm glad to hear that Quincy Jr. is in good hands. The question is, how in the world is Hannah going to afford that medicine? But, just hold on to that thought, because I'll get to it later in the video. Next thing. It's not much to say aside from the fact that Wyatt is obviously going to blow the money, the $12 million. Put it this way. Wyatt's going to end up blowing any of the money that's left from when apparently Benny and Candace are going to sue for the hit and run charges. So let's say, for example, they sue him for like maybe $3-4 million. He's obviously going to blow the rest. He's already talking about buying expensive cars, staying in the presidential suite of the Sarandon Hotel, and so on. Pretty much Jeffrey's just telling the truth. Jeffrey in this episode, I think, was a little less whiny and annoying than he's been in previous episodes, because Jeffrey was pretty much speaking what the fans were saying. Dude, you're going to blow this money. Just calm down. So that's pretty much it. Next week it looks like Wyatt's going to have a hooker in there, but, I'll say that for the next week's video. Let's leave it there. Next scene. Just, wow. There were so many great ones this week, I will admit. The scene where, Pearl, the neighbor, okay? To the actress who plays her, you are playing that part very well. I cannot fault you for how you play the part. You are playing it to a T. But I would hate to be in a neighborhood with a neighbor like that. It's one thing to criticize your neighbor's actions, but according to Benny, she had cameras installed in the front of the house. Isn't that against some kind of property code? It's one thing for her to call out Jeffrey to move Quincy's car because he parked in front of her house. What gave her the right to put cameras in front of Candace's house? I'm just saying, like, my mom used to watch Desperate Housewives, and I remember one of those nosy neighbors ended up being killed. So I'm just saying, Pearl, better watch yourself. I seen the preview for next week. Quita and that boy don't look like they're too friendly, so I don't think you could talk to them like you talk to Jeffrey and just walk away. That's all I'm saying on that one. But, so Quincy has a nice grave out in the back of the house. So Candace, I don't know how you're going to sleep in that house, assuming, you get the money for Warlock eventually. I don't know how well I would sleep knowing that there's a dead body in the backyard, but let's just hope that Quincy is actually gone for good this time. It doesn't pull a Michael Jackson and comes out the grave like it's Thriller, because, it's pretty cool that Tyler Perry pays Quincy's actor to pretty much lay there dead for 4 episodes? It's been 4 or 5 episodes so far this season, maybe even 6, but hey. 6 feet under. Hopefully he doesn't stink. And that's the end of that. Warlock. Wow. Of course, you've heard me say it in videos as well as my blogs that he has every right to be mad at Candace for what she did and lied to him. But I hope, then again, Warlock doesn't seem to be playing around this season. To threaten to kill Benny, are you serious? First of all, Benny had nothing to do with the situation. He's been trying to give you a job in the company, which turns out that Mitch is right. You shouldn't trust him. But to try to kill him, come on now. And then the fact that he just rolled into Candace's house like he was paying the bill, hey. And, dang, I don't think I've seen Candace this sad before. We've seen her emotionally, depressed at some points during the series, but overall, aside from threats about her life and then the money, but to just use her for sexual favors, I don't know. It seems to me that I want to know what would happen if Benny found out about Warlock's behavior. Number two, push Candy Cane too far, Warlock might end up in the grave just like Quincy. That's all I'm saying. So just gonna leave it at that. So again, going back to Oscar, well, not Brandon, because he did tell David to call him Oscar. Good to see him back in the series. Now here comes one of those what the heck were they thinking points. Now we've seen it time and time again in the series where characters will tell another character like a half truth. Like they'll tell them half of what they need to hear, but they won't go into full detail. How hard was it for David to say Jim Cryer was the one that put out the hit on my wife? Because Mama Rose said that, Veronica shouldn't go to the house. And Oscar's like, well, who put the hit on it? It was Jim. Jim literally told you in the... okay. All they had to do was simply tell Oscar, hey, it was Jim Cryer. That's all they had to do. I don't know how hard that was. Now you're wasting Oscar's time to figure that stuff out, because it's clear that he finds out who Benny Young is in the photo, because in the next episode we see David calling Benny. So let's just hope Oscar doesn't cross paths with Candace. That's all. Well, let's just hope for the best on that. Now, when it comes to Quita, the cop that ended up calling her, we know next week that she's going to roll up to Candace's house. My question is Candace even going to be there? Well, then again, we know that, Aaliyah, the child services woman, Erica's going to make a next appearance. So it looks like, if I'm to make a assumption here, Aaliyah might be coming over to Candace's house to tell about Quincy Jr., and she might not leave there in one piece or being able to walk out the front door without a limp. So I can't wait to see how that's going to unfold. And then I'm just trying to think overall. I had to save it the best for last. We're talking about David, Veronica, and the good old Maggie Day. Now, David's visit to the prison went just as well as expected. Veronica still assuming he's with Maggie. And enough said on that, honestly. There's nothing else to say. It's just been the same back and forth banter. David's clearly had enough. He goes back to the Sarandon, screws Maggie. Had to be blunt there. No need of going on for 5 minutes about it. I will say this much. I hope that Maggie Day is watching this video. Are you looking? I believe her name is Allison. Okay, Allison, if you're looking at this video, I promise you this. I will make a video before next week's episode about my thoughts on you, David, and what happened in that hotel in your room. I promise you I will, because this video is over 8 minutes long. I cannot spend just like 3 or 4 minutes talking about my thoughts on what happened. I will make my next video. I promise you, fans. My next video is going to be about David and Maggie, what happened in that room. All I got to say is this much. I find it amazing that Maggie and Landon want David and Jeffrey respectively. But it turns out the only way to get them into bed with, Jeffrey with Landon, David with Maggie, is to get over their emotional feelings or abuse from Veronica. Just think about that. They both want the Harringtons, but the Harringtons only use them for their own purposes. And I just find it funny how Landon is like, you know what? The fact that you want Wyatt, I don't have time for this mess, figured it out, come back. Maggie's like, use me. I'm going to stop right there. But overall, I'll say this much. I did enjoy the episode. I will say it's one of the better episodes so far this season. There were some moments in there where I'm like, it made no sense. But hey, that's how it is with this show. There's good points, there's bad points. But overall, great episode. My next video, Maggie David, is coming out about you, Allison. I promise you, I will tweet you a link to that video. But in any case, let me know in the comment section below. What did you think of this week's episode? What do you think is going to happen next week? And honestly, there's just way too many things to go over in less than 10 minutes. So I will catch you in the next video. And please subscribe to my channel, because the more subscribes, likes, and comments I get, the more willing I am to make these videos. And I will see you all in the next episode.